All right, and welcome in once again to the Two Guys and Beer podcast. Andy Beckstrom, Sean Field. We're back at it again. I believe we've decided episode 24, I think, is what we're at.
I think that's what we decided.
That's a 24 or a case, I guess.
That is a case.
There we go. An actual case. Not people are like, oh, get a case of beer, and they get a 12-pack. Like
that's a half a case.
Yeah, that's not a
true
United
case
States anymore. I mean, it's a craft case, I guess, in a way, but... a case is going to be a 24.
It's got to be a 24.
Yeah. So, so we're up to 24. So I hope you've enjoyed the journey so far with all of the different places that we've wandered off to, and even some of the randomness that we've wandered off on as well. Kind of, things get a little random at times.
There's
but
definitely
that's fine.
plenty of that.
Absolutely.
But that's what happens when you're in a bar drinking beer. It goes from point A to X back to B and F and... out the door.
Exactly. You just let the beer take you on the tour.
Yes.
Is really what it is. That's what it comes down to. So, today we're going to talk about Mikerphone. Mikerphone. So Mikerphone, not microphone, like these guys, like Mikerphone. So a little bit different. It's a brewery out of the Chicagoland area. It's I believe Elk Grove is the actual location. Elk Grove Village is where it is in kind of that Chicago-ish area, kind of one of the suburbs there. And highly recommended by, I had stopped by a place down in Rochester, a nice little liquor store that all they really had was just craft beer is pretty much all it was. So I tried to challenge Amanda into asking where they kept the Busch Light, but she wouldn't fall for it. She didn't go for it at all. So,
well, that's a heck of a liquor store if it's just craft beer. Like, that's the liquor stores we should have.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was a really cool place. I'll bring the name up here. I didn't get the guy's name that was working behind the counter, but I asked him to recommend some, and this is one of them that he highly recommended, as well as I think there's one more that we'll have in a future episode that he highly recommended that he thought was really good, too.
Sure.
So a couple of really good options coming up here.
Did you promote our podcast, our fine podcast?
I certainly did. I even left a couple of cards there for him.
Oh, perfect. I was just recently in Washington, D.C. last week on a trip out there. I deposited some of our memorabilia out there for the Washington, D.C. goers. So if you're in the D.C. area,
love it.
You might find some of our memorabilia.
Let's see here. Jack's Bottle Shop is the name of the place. Jack's Bottle Shop. It's in Rochester, kind of just off of a Civic Center Drive Northwest, up on 6th Street. But just kind of not too far off of the old main drag, State Highway 14 and 63 that come through there. So not very far off. It's right next to Forager Brewing, which is a place that I had ended up at after a brewery 5K. I know. Star athlete, and naturally, look exactly like a runner. So that's what I was doing. I was down there at Little Thistle Brewery is what we were originally at, but we stopped by another one because you don't just go for one, especially if you're driving all the way to Rochester.
Right, there's plenty to stop along the way there.
100%. So we stopped
it's called
over there.
Research and Development for the show.
Yep. The R&D fund is, that's what it's all about. So. So, yeah, that's where we stopped, and a cool place, really cool. I highly recommend it. I've talked a lot of times about in St. Paul, the Dabbler Depot has a lot of different places. They have, I believe they call it the Singles Lounge, which is just a walk-in cooler that has single cans of beer. Yep. Instead of like 4-packs or anything like that. So it's kind of a cool place to be able to, you can get all sorts of different onesie, twosies and stuff like that. And this place is kind of like that, too. So they had a lot of any type that they had it kind of separated by style of craft beer, IPA, sours, things like that. So you could find just about anything. It's a really cool place. I highly recommend, swinging by there if you're in the Rochester area, of course.
Sure.
Or if you're not, make a way, make a trip.
And it's interesting. He's recommending, they're highly recommended, you say, from this guy at the liquor store. Mm-hmm. They both come from the Chicago area. Well, the last couple episodes we've done have been on beer in Chicago, Pipestone or Pipeworks Brewing and Off Color Brewing, and both of those were really good. Mm-hmm. So hopefully this guy's right, and we keep that on going with this stuff here from Mikerphone Brewing. Mike. Yep. In a Michael Jordan mic.
There we go. That might be the same thing. So, and if you do have a suggestion yourself, feel free to drop that in the comments. Any of our social media, look us up: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, which is where a lot of this is now starting to kind of come out. So we want to appreciate all of the support that we've gotten there, and the old like, share, and subscribe. Will ding ding, like all the things right now. But we definitely appreciate all of that. But if you have anything you want us to try to take a swing at, we'd be happy to be able to get that. I have gotten a couple of suggestions from some friends of mine as well, and I think some of it, I think they're just like, I just want you to try the beer,
right?
They're not worried about the brewery.
Think of it first.
They just want to try that. So, but we're happy to be able to do that. That's part of what we're here to do. We're providing a service. We're giving back to the community.
We're givers. We're very giving. And you mentioned that. I just got a text message the other day from somebody that is recommending we have a beer on the show. Although he wouldn't tell me what he thought of the beer, he said if we have it on the show, it'd be a surprise for us and for all the viewers and listeners out there. It actually comes from Belgium, and it comes in a wine bottle with a cork on the top.
Interesting.
But it's a beer. It's not wine. So we might have to scrape up a bottle of that here one of these episodes, bring it in, and see how that goes.
I mean, I like beers from New Belgium, like Fat Tire and things like that.
Colorado.
But have to try something from Old Belgium.
Imported from Belgium.
OG Belgium.
Yeah, in a wine bottle. So
there we go.
We'll see. Then maybe that'll be on. Stay tuned. It might be on a future episode.
Yeah. Should be kind of interesting. Well, I don't know about you, Sean.
Oops.
Careful now. I was gonna say we should pop the top here before we get too deep into this, but maybe you want to swap it out with one of our little backup ones.
I think I will. So as you can see, we'll.
It's kind of a fun can. It's what we got today is we go together like ... and it's got kind of the can is it kind of reminiscent of Grease. Is kind of what it is. So kind of like the song. And then it's a soft sour ale with strawberries and peanuts. So this will be a little bit of a different, kind of a little more off the board of what we usually do. Like we typically do a lot of IPAs, like things within that realm. But it'll be kind of something to try something different.
Yeah, I'm kind of excited to try it. Usually I'm not too excited to try beer that has strawberries and peanuts in it. Again, we've talked about that before. Like sometimes some craft beer gets a little outrageous with what they try to brew a beer, and anytime I see like peanuts and strawberries and beer, I'm not too excited about it. But this actually, for some reason, the soft sour ale with strawberries and peanuts is what gets me. It's not like an IPA with strawberry and peanuts or something. It's a soft ale. So I'm curious as to how this is going to go.
Should be interesting. It turns out this is actually a collaborative effort as well with 1840 Brewing out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Ooh.
So
all right.
I didn't even catch that until just now. So, you're wandering along with us, like we've said. So
if anybody's been to 1840, let us know. Tell us what your thoughts are on that.
There we go. All right. Well, let's get the best part of the podcast going.
Ooh.
Whoa. Make sure I don't splash on the laptop here. It smells kind of fruity.
It sure does. It definitely tastes some strawberry flavor in there, and it definitely tastes like peanuts. And I'm going to say this right now. The first thing I came to my mind after a drink of this, and it was on the palate for a few seconds, was a strawberry and peanut butter jelly sandwich.
I follow that. Yeah, I definitely get kind of that strawberry jam kind of flavoring to it.
Yeah,
it is interesting. I don't know that I've ever had a soft sour. I've had some sours, and some of them can get real bitter, real sour. But that's part of what they are. But this one is definitely it's a soft sour. Like it's almost like a cheesecake in a way. But and not really any graham to it, but it has that kind of soft flavor to it. Like
sure
it's not.
Does.
It's pretty heavy on the strawberries, but it's not real overwhelming, I guess.
Yeah, it drinks like a light beer. It's kind of a light, fluffy type beer. It's not too heavy, not too hard with the strawberry and peanut. Like a lager, like a light lager, I would say for sure. It definitely tastes the strawberries and peanuts in it though for sure. It's not too bad. I'd probably drink another one or two.
Yeah, I think if we are maybe going down the old route of, the lawn mowing lawnmower index. I think this would probably be an after the mowing, after the burgers, while you're having like some pie or something, kind of a dessert beer.
Sure.
So.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I don't know that I'd have like 4 of them while doing the lawn.
No, they're kind of sweet.
Very good though, but I think that's probably where I'd
a little sweet.
Label
I would
this one.
say for sure. A little sweet, like kind of in the realm of Angry Orchard sweet, but not that sweet. Like Angry Orchard apple is super sweet. Like you drink one and you're just kind of like blah. You could probably drink 2 of these, but it is sweet. The strawberry does make it sweet for sure.
Right. Yeah, but it's pretty good though. I do like it. It's and it kind of, so the interesting, on the can, if you look it up at some point, so it does have kind of the, the grease kind of feel to it, like the 2, kind of in their outfits there, but one has a strawberry for a face and then the other one has the peanut for a face, wearing the Mikerphone shirt on that one. So kind of fun little can, fun little deal, I like it. I think it's, pretty good. And, the more that I've kind of looked at the, some of the information for Mikerphone, I think it'd be kind of a cool place to be able to, check out and try some of their beers.
What do we got?
So, Mikerphone is a family-owned small craft brewery located in Elk Grove Village, Illinois. Did a quick look up. It's kind of on the northwest-ish area of Chicago, kind of on the suburbs, but it's still kind of within that Chicago-ish metropolis, you know what I mean? So it's still kind of within that metropolitan area. Founded as a passion from home brewing, Mike and Lisa Palin started with the concept of a brewery inspired by music out of their basement. So that's kind of the thing. That's why the Mikerphone, name comes in. They are very big on live music. They do a lot of live music there. They like to try to kind of weave it in with what they're doing. A lot of their beer names, we'll kind of touch on those here in a little bit.
That's right up our alley. You and I both love live music, so
absolutely.
that would be perfect.
Mm-hmm. It'd be great. So that's something that they kind of focus on. So beginning in 2015, they brewed and released their first commercial beer. That same year, Mikerphone Brewing was awarded Best New Brewery in Illinois by Rate Beer, as well as one of the best new breweries in the world by Beer Advocate magazine. Now, I know Beer Advocate magazine, I haven't heard of Rate Beer, but Beer Advocate magazine, that's a pretty big, that's a little bit, pretty well-known one for sure.
It's pretty big.
Music and flavor is their inspiration. Mikerphone continues to produce high-quality small batch beer, including everything from classic styles that push the boundaries of what beer can become, which I would think that the soft sour with strawberries and peanuts definitely kind of fits in with what that is. So, kind of a cool deal. Mikerphone Brewing, craft beer inspired by music.
That's interesting.
So, some of the awards that they got, 2021 gold medal for Sir Blenz-A-Lot.
Oh,
that was at the U.S. Open Beer Championship.
Perfect.
That same year, U.S. Open Beer Championship, they also got the silver medal for She Blends a Lot. So they had Sir Blends a Lot and She Blends a Lot.
Interesting.
That both won. 2020 gold medal at the FOBAB at Sir Blends a Lot. 2015 Best New Brewer by Rate Beer, as we mentioned before. Same thing from Beer Advocate. Let's see here. 2014, first place in the specialty beer category, Bell City Winter Warmer Competition with 'Tis the Season, a French saison brewed with orange peel and ginger. So they won 3 different things during that one: an imperial stout and a sourpuss, a sour brown ale. Which I don't know that a sour brown ale. That'd be interesting.
That might be interesting. It sure sounds like they really go after the flavor though on there.
Yeah.
With the one you just mentioned with the ginger in it and stuff like that. You had ginger before. It's a
powerful
it's a heck
flavor.
Of a flavor.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then trying this soft sour ale with strawberries and peanuts here, you can definitely taste the strawberry. Definitely taste the peanuts. So if they're doing a ginger type beer, ginger's pretty powerful. It'd be interesting how to give that a whirl and kind of see how that fits in while you're brewing beer with the other ingredients.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, that'd be very interesting. So let's see here. What else do we got here about them? So that's kind of like the long and the short what they have kind of on their website. They do have a tap room in the Elk Grove Village. They have Industry Monday, 3 to 9. But otherwise, they're closed on Tuesdays, and then got some decent hours, noon or 11 a.m. to a little bit later on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then short hours on Sunday. So a little bit of kind of a nice little mix there, but open more often than not. They encourage you to stop on in. They do limit you, however, to, let's see if I can find it, 60 ounces of draft beer per customer per day. I did a quick little Google search. That ends up being about 2 liters of beer. So,
wow. I'm glad they're putting a cap on that.
Which, we'll talk about liters of beer here in a little bit. We'll kind of come back to that one. Remind me of a story from D.C. We'll talk about that here in a little bit. But, so that's something that, they, kind of limit a little bit there, but they, valid ID, kind of the standard stuff. Sunday and Monday, $1 off classic full pours and $1 off 16-ounce can pour beers. So, yeah. And then all their names, Hey Mambo Italiano is an Italian-style Pilsner. Money on My Mind, West Coast style Pilsner, like all the things are named after
something
kind of within
music,
songs. Yeah, so
Money on My Mind. I'm trying to think what song that is. Like, I know what it is, but I can't think of it right this minute. So it's a good thing I'm not doing trivia right now.
Right.
Oh.
But yeah, so
cool.
It's kind of a cool little place. One of the other things that they do, I do have to highlight a little bit. Let's see, the main stage
Snoop
here.
Dogg.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thought it was Snoop Dogg, but I didn't want to commit to it just yet. So, mind on my money, and my money on my mind.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Behind
he was
the
just
mic.
at the casino a couple days ago. Yeah, Hinkley Casino. Yeah.
He was just right up here.
Putting on a show.
Let's see here. Some of their events that they have coming up. Now, they do have events that are recurring, and then they also have some special events. They have a location there you can be able to rent out. So they do have kind of like a little pseudo event center, if you will, to be able to do certain things there. First Thursdays of the month, pinball tournament with Stern Army. So that's kind of a fun thing. Second Thursdays, trivia, which, I'm in for trivia. I'm all in for that.
Locked down.
Fourth Thursdays are bingo. So they got a lot of things going on. But again, they also have some live music and some stuff like that. This episode is likely to come out after this particular event that I'm going to talk about. But if you go to their website, mikerphonebrewing.com/events, it goes over, they have a cornhole tournament coming up. They have beer fest things going on. They got all sorts of different events that they have coming up. But one of the events that they have that, as I mentioned, this will likely drop after this event happens. However, I do want to highlight one of the charities that they give back to and that they're involved in. We've talked numerous times on the podcast about the brewing community likes to try to give back. They like to try to be involved in the community. And they like to try to, support positive things. You know what I mean? I think we talked about at one point in time, there was a brewery they were trying to move into a city that I went to school at, years ago, and the city council was getting bombarded with people that didn't want it moving in there because we didn't need another bar and they're going to be just drinking and driving and stuff like that. And it's like, that's not at all what that community is all about.
Not a brewery, yeah.
And so there's still some education to be done with that, but at the same time, the craft brewing community is so great at giving back and doing things like that. So I like to try to highlight some of the things that they do. So they have an event coming up for us, but again, as I mentioned, when this drops, it'll be probably have already been done. But they have a Fire and Grain charity event with the Elk Grove Fire Department. Oh. Now, the more that I looked into this, they have, like I said, they have a couple other things. There was a first anniversary of Tacos La Manitas, DJ games, tacos, things like that. That's always fun.
I like tacos.
All of that
go
stuff
well with beer.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. They have an open mic night, things like that, cornhole tournament. But this combination or this collaboration with the Elk Grove Fire Department is raising funds for Project Fire Buddies. I didn't really know what that does or what that is, so I had to look that up. It's kind of a cool thing. We are firefighters who offer support and give back to children fighting critical illnesses.
Oh, nice.
Their battle will not be fought alone. So a really cool kind of organization, and it's not just So Elk Grove is involved in it, but they're not. It's not just like their thing. It's all over the place. They have a network of departments that continue to flourish with new areas and cities joining the ranks each month. And then you can explore the department page on their website. That's projectfirebuddies.org to be able to find out who's all involved with that. But what they do is they bring gifts for birthdays, holidays. They'll play games. They'll provide tickets to concerts and special events, and they'll try to attend as firefighters special events in the kids' lives that are going through horrific illnesses, whatever it may be. They will help also secure medical supplies, medical devices, things like that. They will also have fire buddies come and visit the fire station, have dinner with the crew on their full-time firefighters, and do tours of the station, check out the rigs. If they're going to do like a birthday party or something like that, they'll show up with the trucks and the lights and everything going. So
that's
they
cool.
do a lot of things like that. So it's kind of a really cool thing that they do and they get involved in. And I think that's kind of a it's a cool thing. I mean, being kind of with that fire.
Yeah, you're a firefighter
doing
yourself.
that, like it's kind of, for me personally, kind of a cool thing. But I really like like this. There's an organization like that kind of looks to try to give back to kids that are going through just horrific, terrible things.
What I'm kind of curious about with that is that the paid firefighters, is this city that large, or these organizations are using those city fire departments that actually get paid, or if it's the volunteer firefighters? Because, all volunteer firefighters get paid nothing, basically, and those fire departments are so underfunded. You rely on all your fundraisers and your beer bus and, put the money in the boot at the stop signs and things like that. The fact that there's firefighters or groups of firefighters going around purchasing things for medical supplies and to help kids is kind of mind-boggling when fire departments are underfunded as it is.
Yeah, going above and beyond.
How are they getting the resources to help these kids with critical issues that need help? That's kind of interesting.
Yeah, so that's kind of a cool thing. They have the event that they have coming up as a Fire and Green charity. Let's see if it has some details on it. But it's just a kind of a collaboration with the Elk Grove Fire Department. They helped brew a deliciously drinkable hazy pale ale to help raise money. So they're going to give proceeds from the beer through this particular event.
Sure.
But they're going to have a fire truck bounce house, face paint, things like that. And there's also a food truck that's going to be out there too. So kind of a cool little thing that they're going to have out there for that. But, I also want to highlight, like the projectfirebuddies.org, just kind of a cool thing that you might be able to donate to as well. Whether you go through the brewery or if you just want to donate directly to it, or, or if you want to find out more about it, I think it's kind of a cool thing to be able to do that. And like you said, taking time out of their already kind of taxed time to a certain extent to be able to do more. I'm guessing that a lot of them are from the career fire departments, the full-time fire departments, but there's Minnesota especially is actually one of the most underfunded. They have almost across the board, almost all volunteer.
Sure.
There's very
outside
few.
of Minneapolis and St. Paul.
There's
maybe
only
Duluth.
There's only a handful of. I think it's. I don't remember all of them, and I'm sure Amanda judged me for not knowing all of them. But St. Cloud has mostly career, but they do have kind of a mix of them. That's a fair amount of them do. They'll have duty crews, or they'll have people that are assigned to it, but they're not necessarily like full-time, doing that.
Sure.
Otherwise, a lot of cities like Cambridge and Asante, kind of locally, they'll have like one full-time, like one of their 3 chiefs will be a full-time person that will be there for some administrative things, but also be there during the day to be able to take some of the medical runs and kind of take some of the heat off of, having calls go out all the time.
Sure.
So there's some of that, but otherwise, as far as like full-time, you're talking, like you said, cities of the first class, or like Minneapolis, St. Paul, Duluth, Rochester, kind of long and short. There's not a ton of them in the state of Minnesota. So, but you go to other areas, if you go through Florida or Illinois or things like that, like the bulk of them are career fire departments that have. A lot of full-time, which is kind of cool to be able to see, and a lot of opportunities to be able to get into that career and be able to do some things like this. But I'm sure like I was saying, some of it is going to be some full-time, some volunteer kind of intermixed with that. So it's not going to be maybe the whole department. So, to your point, it is still like they're still doing another job and volunteering and now also giving back to the community doing something like this. So very cool kind of deal. So,
yeah, it is very, very cool that people have time and the dedication to do that and the willingness to do it too. You don't see a lot of that anymore in today's world. Not too many people are selfless anymore. You know, to volunteer their time to do that.
Yeah, it's definitely seen in a lot of different things. Especially volunteer firefighting. Nobody wants to volunteer. Nobody has the time to do it. That's probably one of the biggest things. Life is, I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm older, but life seems to get way more busy now than it ever was before. And so, having that time to be able to donate to that seems tougher and tougher for everybody to be able to do it.
Yeah, I think I think everybody has time. You have time for what you want to make time for. So if you really want to do it, you make time for it. If you really want to go play beer league softball, you make time to do it. If you want to make a podcast about drinking beer, you make time for it. You make pass on drinking beer. So yeah, it's people's priorities are different. They're not about community and helping out your neighbor anymore. It's selfishness, me, I, I'm not doing that, I'm not doing this, you owe me, government owes me, I'm not doing that, spiel in like today's world. It's kind of different,
It's definitely kind of a different era, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But this is kind of a cool thing, from people that do spend time giving back and doing things. But yeah, I don't know, it's kind of a cool thing. They have all sorts of on their website. If you go to the events tab or at the bottom of the main page, they got probably 15 different events that they have coming up in various different areas of golf tournaments or one of them is a fundraiser at Chipotle. So you got to go by Chipotle to be able to do it. Okay, I'm in for that.
I won't argue that point at all.
Might be a little bit tough. I got to go to York, Pennsylvania, but
I'm always down for a road trip.
Exactly.
Heck, let's do it.
They probably got a brewery or two out there too.
I'm sure they do. I was just out in Pennsylvania a week ago.
There we go.
Why not go again?
Let's see. Brentwood, Tennessee has a dodgeball tournament coming up. So, yeah, they got all sorts of events, all over the place. So, kind of a cool thing. So check that out, projectfirebuddies.org, and then, of course, the mikerphonebrewing.com. Again, Miker instead of the microphone like you would normally have with this. It's a little different spelling,
Mike.
But that's
Michael
kind of what
Jordan,
they do.
Mike.
So,
I want to be like Mike.
Like Mike. So, yeah, that's kind of the long and the short of kind of what they got going on. You can visit them again, Elk Grove Village. Make sure you bring your drinking shoes if you're going to get after the old 60 ounces, the 2 liters of beer. But, it's definitely something that they, have options for. They have, let's hear, what is it? You can send party inquiries on their website as well. Family friendly and dog friendly, so bring the whole crew. They do have some small snacks and then food trucks on the weekend. I wonder if they have pretzels from Von Hansen's.
Your favorite, I'm sure they do.
Von Hansen's gets me every time.
I'm sure they have a case just waiting for you back there.
I'm sure. Oh, Von Hansen's.
They don't know if you're ever going there, but I guarantee you there's a case of them back there that says Andy Beckstrom all over it.
Right, exactly.
They purposely put it out when you get there. Like,
what do you think about it now, huh? Oh, man, it gets me every time. So I haven't had any of those actually in a little while, so I'll have to try that out.
I don't. I don't need to try that out.
Fair enough. So I mentioned before that I had to kind of circle back to the story about D.C. So I flew out to, you were just in D.C. Recently. I went out
5 days before you.
Exactly, yeah. You were there for a little bit longer than I was there. I was only there for about 48 hours. It was kind of a little whirlwind tour that was... it was quite the day, let me tell you, or quite the weekend. 2 days really is, kind of what it was. So fly out there, fly to like Baltimore, had just a debacle of a rental situation with, did a budget rental car, no big deal, just, because you just, they're all rental cars. You know what I mean? They're all going to be new cars. It just depends on what kind of, if you get leather with the car, if it's just cloth or, the Armstrong windows or something like that. You know what I mean? It didn't really matter. I don't really care. Budget Rent a Car is a good, solid company, except for it was awful.
Oh, no.
The airport one, it took me almost a full hour to get through the line that wasn't that long to be able to get a car. The car ended up being nice, and it actually worked out really well because they gave me a minivan. That was not necessarily the intention. It was kind of a dealer's choice kind of thing, and that's what they gave me. And I was like, oh, great. Wait, no, I think this is going to work out. And it did work out. I'll explain why. But I finally eventually get there, drive like hell because I'm already late because this took so long now or whatever, and had to take like a shortcut through Emmitsburg. Not Emmitsburg.
Oh, there's the Emmitsburg Road.
There is
That's where the Union and Confederate Army came in to fight the Battle of Gettysburg. Emmitsburg Road.
Gettysburg. That's where I went through. Gettysburg is where I went through, but Emmitsburg is where I was headed because that's where the National Fire Academy is, and that's why I was there ultimately. So I actually went through Gettysburg because it was actually a shortcut than taking the freeway that had a major accident on it. So. It actually kind of worked out. So what I was there for ultimately was Amanda graduated a multi-year process that is now ended with her. She has now a certification as a executive fire officer.
Congratulations, Amanda. I'll drink to that.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Mm-hmm. It essentially equates to roughly like a master's degree in fire science leadership, things like that. So very cool deal. A lot of really cool people that I met with this group that, they're very prominent, full-time fire people from all over the country. Men, women, chiefs, captains, like all sorts of different levels, go to this. It's very tough to get into and very tough to complete because not all the people that she started with completed the entire thing. Some of them even got all the way to the final section and then dropped out at that point.
No.
So it was definitely a challenge, and it was definitely quite the thing, but I think that she would probably say that it was still worth it. So I think that it was a cool deal. So and it was a fun ceremony to be able to go to, and they announced all the names and brought everybody up there, and they got a thing, and the assistant U.S. Fire Administrator, I think that's her title, was there to be able to hand out the certificates, and so kind of a really cool thing to be able to do that. So, and out of the entire country, I think there was like 24 people that graduated this round. So it's not like there's a lot of people that do this. So it's like I said, it's hard to get into and it's hard to finish. So, but I think it was a 2, almost 3-year type of process to be able to do this, and she'd go out to Emmitsburg for a week or so and then come back and then have homework on homework on homework for months and months and months, and then go back out there for, a week or two and same thing over and over and over.
Sure.
So, so over the course of this process, she also got connected with, a group of, people that they're kind of their core group that they would hang out with. You know what I mean? They go out to dinner and they'd, go to the bars or whatever it is that was
from
going on.
From around the country. Yep. They were doing the class. Okay, got it.
So they all would go to Emmitsburg every time at that academy. But, one was from California, one was from Iowa, Idaho, like all over the place. I think one of them that would hang out with them, I think she was from Arizona, all over the country.
Sure.
So, kind of a nice cross-section of, people from all over the place.
Yeah.
There was a group that was also a couple, he was there. His wife came same as I did, but he was from, I think, I'm going to say South Carolina, but I'm probably going to get a message saying it was North Carolina. But it was one of the Carolinas is where we're going to go with. But very cool people, a lot of fun, and so that's where the minivan actually kind of worked out really well, because originally they were kind of scrambling because we had all set up hotels in D.C. instead of staying at the fire academy. Just everybody trucked down to D.C., be able to, kind of hang out and celebrate that night, and then the next day kind of check out D.C. and go out to, they had set up a really fancy dinner at this really, really nice restaurant. And so they were kind of scrambling on who's going to drive it down and who, all sorts of details with that or whatever, because it was 4 or 5 people and all their luggage for, they were there for about 2 weeks this time. So kind of a lot to try to be able to figure out. And I'm like, here I come to save the day with the minivan. And so everybody piles in there. So it was a great time, got to, kind of really get to know those guys. They're really, really cool. And when we get down there, we find this really cool German craft brewery brew hall kind of thing.
Nice.
I'm failing to remember the name of it though. This is where I fail at what the see if I can find it real quick here. German Beer Garden. Dasha, there we go.
Okay.
Dasha Beer Garden. Very, very cool place. It ended up being, it's like a little less than a mile from our hotels. Everything was walkable. We basically drove down there and dropped the car off, which let me tell you, the car was nice and the drop off for budget was phenomenal. The guy that we talked to was super nice, very helpful. And he's like, oh, if you're looking for an Uber, McDonald's right over there. There's about 10 of them that are sitting there waiting because it's a drop off for car rental. So, they just know that people are going to be looking for a ride. So it was super easy, super quick. That part went really well. Check-in counter for BWI. Terrible. I already gave them feedback. Don't worry about it. Nobody has to go after them or anything. Anyway, so we get, this all set up and, so walkable. We get at this place. Well, they serve beer. You can either get a pint or you can get a boot. It's about a liter. So it ends up being 30 some ounces or whatever. So like a liter, but it was one of those where you definitely had to, if you've seen Beer Fest, like you had to turn the thing to be able to not get the air bubble. It's very possible that one of the guys may or may not have had that happen to him twice.
Oh, no.
The second time, I guess it hit him so hard that it actually got his wife on it. So, sorry for kind of selling out on that one, but it was still a good time. But let me tell you, we drank some boots that night. It was kind of, it's a celebration to be done with that process and, like cheers and we're having a good time. And I think we figured out that there was between 20 and 25 boots between about 4 or 5 of us.
Oh, wow.
So it was, well, let me tell you, it was, but we ordered, they had a bunch of really cool food and, like little platters we would just kind of order for the table and stuff. And, it was really cool. So that next day we just kind of checked out the National Mall and went out to that dinner. And then I flew back the next morning after that. So again, 48, 50 hours.
Seems like a
DC.
productive 48 hours in D.C.
Exactly. So it was very cool, but when we talk about them being limited to 60 ounces, you were definitely not limited at Dasha. That was for sure. So, but it's a good thing that we were on foot, being able to get back to our hotel. So, but it was cool where we were staying. That was a really nice hotel, but just walkable to everything. You know what I mean? And we've had a decent rate on it. It was like $200 a night or something like that, kind of downtown, and it was fantastic. I don't know, it was a great experience. It was only a couple of days. It was very quick, but it was so much fun.
Sure, sounds like a good time. All right, my trip I was there a few days before you. We were there for 5 nights. Something like that. Drove straight there, 18 hours, about 17 hours to get there from where we live here. 17 hours to get out there. And I'm a cheap ass when it comes to hotels. I am a cheap ass. Like, I find the cheapest motel, not a hotel, the cheapest motel I can stay in.
Is this how we end up on the side of the road in Perham?
Yes. Yes, that's exactly how this happens. So that's the type of stuff that I buy because I choose to spend. I don't do anything there but sleep.
Yep.
When I'm on a vacation, I'm out and about exploring the world, the state, wherever I'm at. I want to see everything I can. I'm up at 6 a.m. I go to bed at midnight. Wake back up at 6 a.m. I'm gone. I'm exploring everything. So, if you've ever been to D.C., if you don't stay downtown or close to that National Mall in that radius, that 1 mile radius, D.C. is a trash hole. Mm-hmm. Which you think it would be the best place in the world since, that's where our government is and we're supposedly supposed to be the best, most powerful government in the world,
Well, they are within that little...
Yeah. So, D.C. is not the greatest place. So we stayed, the first motel, was in Alexandria, which is about 7 miles from the Capitol and National Mall area. So we roll in this budget host motel. I'm like, all right, we're here, 17-hour drive. Check-in was terrible. The guy didn't speak a lick of English. Okay, fine. We finally get it figured out. Tammy's like looking at me like, seriously, this is where we're staying? And we've stayed in some motels and whatnot. Get into the room. It smells so bad. I've never smelt a room smelled so bad in my entire life. It smelled like people have been smoking in there for 100 years. And there's been no smoking for how many years in every state and places like that. The walls were yellow. The ceiling was yellow. Tammy wouldn't even shut the door on this motel, so people are walking by. I'm like, we're going to get murdered in here. You leave the door wide open. It stunk so bad. The fridge was covered full of white stuff on the top, all down the side. The little 2-cushion love seat in there was stains all over it. There was cigarette hole burns in the bed. In the closet, somebody must have been cooking meth or something in there, because there's like flame marks on the walls and burn marks on the walls.
Oh,
Back in the living room, there's like a bullet hole in the wall that somebody's looks like they stuffed a tissue in the hole, like a little tissue coming out.
They repaired it.
So Tammy's looking at me and I'm looking at her and I'm like, yeah, let's go to bed. Not really. Even for me, I'm like, what the hell are we doing in here? You know. Tammy's looking at me, and I'm just laughing. I couldn't stop laughing. She even took a picture of me. I was laughing so hard, you know. And we never fight. We never argue. And she was like, I'm going to risk a fight here, our first ever fight. We're not staying in this fucking place.
Right.
Like, well, what do you mean? I'm like, just bouncing on the bed. I'm like, this is great. So needless to say, this was the shittiest place I've ever seen in my life. It was the dumpiest place. You know, there's bullet holes in the walls. There's fires going on in the closet. Stains, smells. It was gross. So we ended up leaving. So we start on that whole process, and I use Expedia a lot, and I'll never use Expedia again. Expedia sucks. Fuck you guys. And I've been using Expedia for 15 years, so I have all these one-key cash saved up. And I'm like, all right, fine, we'll finally use that. And it was almost like $400 and some, and we'll get a different room. Fine, no big deal. Go to book the room. All of a sudden, out of nowhere, it goes to a different email address that I've never even made an account with Expedia through, even though it is my email address, but I've never used that email address for anything related to this.
Right.
They didn't use my one-key cash. Get to the hotel, now I see I'm charged $500 for this room. Shouldn't be, because I should have been able to use that cash. Spent hours on the phone with Expedia. I was on the chat. Tammy was on the phone. My Expedia account was wiped. They said due to inactivity. I said, inactivity? I have 3 pending trips on there, one of them being Germany.
Right.
And now I can't access that? Well, prove it. Because there's some morons in India answering these fucking phone calls. You can't get to anybody. So I'm getting super pissed. I'm sending them screenshots of my credit card that was charged for the Germany trip and stuff, and a trip in Iowa for a NASCAR race and all this stuff. Like, what? I'm sending you these confirmation numbers and itinerary numbers, and you're telling me you don't have it? What am I going to do here, you know?
Right. Yeah. So it definitely changes a whole lot of things.
I went on and on about it, and they're basically, prove it. No, this doesn't happen. This doesn't work. So we got nowhere. Well, in any event, that's kind of how it carried on our beginning of our trip. The rest of the trip was fine and fun and all that stuff, but that was, after 17 hours of driving, that's the last thing you want to deal with. And in the meantime, when we got back, Tammy finally got a hold of somebody at Expedia, and they were able to pull up all of our Germany stuff, and they sent me an email of that, and they credited our account with $300 of my new account that I never made, credited it with $300 of one-key cash. And I'm like, I never made this account. This is the one I've used for 15 years, you know.
Right.
But they claim I closed it myself. Like, no, I didn't. I wasn't even in any screen to close it, you know. And the previous people were telling me they just wiped it due to inactivity. I'm like, you guys need to get your stories
You're not even
straight.
telling the same story.
like my wife has an Expedia account, and she doesn't even use it. She hasn't used it in years, but hers works just fine, so it's not due to inactivity.
Yeah.
They just didn't want to help, you know. And it was literally 3 or 4 hours.
If we can get rid of this credit.
Yeah. We were literally on the phone for 3 or 4 hours. That's not an exaggeration. That's no joke. It was literally that long. And my wife is super persistent. Let me speak to a supervisor. Let me speak. And they would just put us on hold for 30 minutes and then pick up. Like, oh, you're still there? Yeah, we're still freaking here. You know, we need this information. You know?
Right.
So, yeah, that was kind of our beginning of the trip, was dealing with all that. But we finally got into a hotel that wasn't a whole lot better. Now I forget the location of it, like Afton Hills or Bunker Hills or something, like 11 miles from the capital and stuff. And when we were there was homeless people sleeping in the breakfast area where you would go down and get your continental breakfast. And I saw a fight out front. One of the days we came back, there were some guys throwing down fisticuffs in front of the hotel.
Because why wouldn't you, really?
They reek like pot the whole time, you know, which pretty much everything reeks like pot now when you're in a city because it's legal most places.
It's so in DC everywhere you walk. It's so. I don't care if you pot whatever. I don't care about that.
Have a good time.
I hate the smell of pot.
It stinks.
Oh, if you could fix that.
Right.
I would, that's the only part that I care about.
Make like a odorless pot.
Exactly. Like vape
that could be a business venture.
There we go.
We could grow odorless marijuana plants.
We're going to have to...
I don't know anything about chemistry.
The best ideas come after beer.
Come after beer. Here
That's
we go.
what it is.
That was the start of our trip out there. And the whole reason we went out there was because my lovely wife got me a birthday present for my last year's birthday. A meet and greet to meet my favorite congressman. If you can have a favorite congressman, I do. I'm a fanboy. Woo, Mr. Thomas Massey of Kentucky. So I got longer than 30 minutes with him because he didn't care what was going on next. But super awesome guy, down to earth, friendly. Offered my wife coffee like 4 times. Is willing to talk about anything. Actually answered things. Told me who the 8 good people are in politics that actually are there doing the right thing. Obviously said the bad one. He's like, this is the stuff I can't tell you on Twitter.
Right. Naturally.
Yeah, great guy. I met his chief of staff. We were in his office, just super friendly guy. Awesome. His staff gave us a private tour of the Capitol, so I got to go in a lot of different places that the general public doesn't go. Right by the Speaker of the House, right by his office. And Mike Johnson was in there, and he's a turd bucket, but we won't get into that on this episode. But I asked the intern that was giving us a tour, I'm like, you mind if I stick my head in there? He's like, yeah, we better not. I'm like, it'll only take a second. He's like, no,
what could go wrong?
We better keep going. I'm like, all right. He thought it was funny, though, too, because he works for Thomas Massey. So
right.
We got to go out where any president that get elected, and they have their inauguration on that platform on the Capitol, and they're over where we had to stand out there and check that out, and all sorts of things in the Capitol. But that was the reason we went out there, was to meet him. Super cool. I could talk everything we talked about, but that would fill up a whole episode on the podcast.
That'd be a whole deal.
But it was super cool. It was a lot of fun. And you brought up Pennsylvania. I'll just throw this out here. You were on Emmitsburg Road. I'm assuming if you went through Pennsylvania, you probably were on Emmitsburg Road. If you weren't, you were very close to Emmitsburg Road.
Yeah, I think that might have been
outside of town.
Yeah, I think it was. See if I can find it here. Emmitsburg. It's Emmitsburg, Maryland, is what it is. But it was.
So that's literally the road the Confederates went across when they were attacking the Union lines, when they marched all across the field.
Right.
If you know a ton about Gettysburg, Emmitsburg Road was the road with the fence that they needed to.
So I know a lot more about it now as of recently, because part of the assigned homework that Amanda had was she had the book that's about that thick and the 4.5-hour movie, which was actually a mini-series that did quite well back in the 90s or whenever it was that it was out there.
Like 93, the one with Robert Duvall.
Yeah.
And,
no, it's...
he was in Gods and Generals, so it was...
Yeah, which I think that one was connected to that in a way.
It was a prequel.
But it was Martin Sheen.
Yes.
And,
he was Robert E. Lee.
Yeah. So that one was it was assigned to do that or whatever, and she's like, I don't think I'm going to do it. I don't think I'm going to watch that. And she's in a group chat with all the guys, and like most of them are like, I don't think I'm going to watch that. It just seems ridiculous. How is that going to actually help my class and stuff like that? And part of it was because they were going to spend one of the days going out to that area, that field. That was part of the week as they went out there and they spent time. They said it was awesome, very kind of like. You reflect a lot, you know what I mean? Take a lot in. But, they were like, this movie's terrible. Like, why is this going to get connected to that or whatever?
Kind of rough.
And so I made the decision one night where we had nothing going on that night and a little bit of open time. I'm like, tonight's the night we're going to watch this movie. And she's like, oh, yeah, for sure. We really going to watch this? I'm like, we're going to dial this up. Oh, no. We went that direction. Oh. But I said, 1 bourbon per hour. We got about halfway through, and she's like, I'm probably going to need more bourbon. It was probably hour 3 before we could figure out the uniform situation on who was, what side.
Sure.
And then there was, like, random people that were, like, officers wearing the other color. And so it was like, I don't think they should be talking to each other. Maybe that's why they lost the war. Like, I don't know what's happening right now. It was very strange. So it was a fun night. I think we made the best of the entire thing. Definitely did learn that they won. They've placed very highly for the Razzies, like the worst movie of the year or something like that. But they did win worst beards.
Oh, okay.
In that one. If you watch the movie, Google the movie. Just look at the beards that they have in the pictures or whatever. It's just awful, but it was fun. It was a fun night, being able to do that. But yeah, so yeah, it was Emmitsburg area is kind of where we went. But yeah, through Gettysburg, and I didn't get to go out and see that, but her and her class went out and were able to tour the battlefields. They were actually each assigned their own character.
Oh, okay.
So I don't remember which one she was, but their one instructor, when they would show up to class or when they would get there, it would be such and such is entering the battlefield, and so that was like their whole bit for the week. So it was kind of a fun little history kind of thing, but it was something a little different.
Yeah, I'm a history nerd. I'll admit, I love history. I love American history is my favorite, but I'll take in any history at any time period of all over the world. But my favorite is American history. We did tour Gettysburg as well. We went up there for a private tour. It was a 3-hour private tour. They get in the tour guide gets in your car and drives you through the battlefield, and you get out and he explains what happened here and what happened there and all those sorts of things in the 3 hours. Really cool. We get out on the Confederate side, and he's like, "This is where the Confederates were." I'm like, "Standing right here?" Like, right here. They were standing in this wood line right here. So, yeah, they were all right here. And I'm like, wow, I'm standing where they were standing. He's like, General Lee was over there on his horse watching the battle unfold. So he went over there. And then, of course, at the end of the tour, we went to the Union lines and did the same thing on the Union lines. And I went through the museum. If you ever get a chance to go take a tour of it, it's really cool. It's kind of crazy how many people died on that field. Shooting each other, Americans shooting each other over essentially slavery and taxes and stuff, and it was pretty crazy. A couple things I learned about that. Going through the town of Gettysburg, when you actually go through a really cool little town, it actually looks like it did 200 years ago too. They kept it the way it looks. There's 118 buildings that still exist that happened during the battle.
Oh, wow.
Still there. You can still see cannon fire on the side of them, musket fire on the side. And of course, they've restored them and paint the buildings, but they paint where the divots that are in there are painted so you can still see it and stuff. But the coolest thing, I know quite a bit about the battle and the different generals' names and stuff, but what I didn't know, and I did learn there, is, of course, the tour guide asked us, "Where are you from?" Well, of course, we're from Minnesota. And he's like, "Really?" He's like, "I've got some very interesting things to tell you about the 1st Minnesota Regiment." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I didn't know much about Minnesota 1 or the Minnesota 1st. The first part about the Minnesota 1st is they were the very first regiment ever conscripted into the Union Army, because there was a Minnesota politician in D.C. when the first shots rang out at Fort Sumter. And the Minnesota politician, I forget his name, said, "Okay, Lincoln, you can have us right away." So we were the first Union members put in the Union Army. Oh, wow. It was the Minnesota 1st. And in Gettysburg, the Confederates actually broke through the lines on the left flank with about 1,600 Confederates because General Sickles didn't have his army where General Meade wanted them. The Confederates broke through. And about 300 yards away, for about 1,400 Confederates that broke through, there was a group of 248 Union military men just standing there. Nobody had given them orders. So some commander came up, "Well, what are you guys doing?" "Well, nobody gave us any orders." He's like, "You see those Confederates over there, 1,400 of them? About 200 yards away, put your bayonet on and run into them." So 248 going up against 1,400 Confederates. They were outnumbered like 8-1. Mm-hmm. Only 41 of them survived, but they held up the Confederates just enough for the Union to reform their line on the left flank to repel it. Well, that was the Minnesota 1st. Oh, wow. So 248 went in, only 41 survived, and held up the Confederates just enough for the Union to reorganize. And because of that, if you're ever in Gettysburg, if you buzz through, if you happen to notice, there's monuments everywhere in this park. It's like 1,400 of them or something like that. The guide said the second largest one in the park is the Minnesota 1st. And it's I can't remember the dimensions. Of course, it's huge, like a small-sized building, but there's an infantryman on there charging. exactly where they first started running is exactly where the monument sits. So that was really interesting, Minnesota history, that we played a pretty pivotal role in the Battle of Gettysburg anyway. So
it's interesting to be able to learn some of that stuff. And that's the type of stuff, like if you go out there, like you can learn a ton of stuff from the guides. Amanda was saying that like they've talked to some of them that you have to like, I don't remember the exact details, but you have to go through like schooling and classes and things like that for like 2 years, 5 years before you even can take the test to be considered being a guide within that. Like it's unreal what you have to do to be able to do that. So like I'm not surprised that you mentioned like Minnesota and then boom, just drop some knowledge on you because they have to be to that point, because it's such a famous or big time area. But
they do. Yeah, it's interesting you brought that up, because I asked the guy, I'm like, what does it take to be a guide over here? And he said it's 5 years of schooling and studying and schooling, and it never ends. And then when you're done, you take like 6 tests, and you have to pass all the tests with like 95% or higher to be a guide. And pre-COVID, there was about 160 guides. He said now there's about 72. Because naturally, they're all older people.
Yep.
I mean, there's not a lot of history nerds out there. I mean, there are, but usually they're older people. They're not typically the younger crowd because they're busy doing other stuff. But he said the first test in about 3 years that they're allowing to get new guides is this year, finally, this fall.
Oh, wow.
So they haven't even been allowed any testing to become one of these certified guides in 3 years. So they're definitely hurting for guides. So if anybody is that interested in American history, specifically Gettysburg, go out. They're looking for it, And when you do it, you're an independent contractor, so you don't work for anybody specifically. We did a 3-hour personal tour, and it was $117, and then, of course, I gave them a $40 tip when we were done, but that's kind of how their income goes. But, 5 years of studying, take 6 tests.
Very cool. Very intense. That's for sure. So, but that's cool though. That's it's amazing. To be able to learn some of that stuff. So
it was super neat, and the museum was cool. They had all the different firearms in there. And there's still trees with musket balls lodged in them and cannonballs lodged in them in the museum. They don't let you dink with that much out in the park because it's Gettysburg National Park now.
Right.
And they don't allow, people used to go with metal detectors. If you had a metal detector, he said, if you start wandering, you'll find musket balls and everything. And he said, they don't allow that anymore. There's some people do own some private property in the area. Some of those people let them do it on their land, but like in the park, they don't allow any of the metal detecting or any of that stuff anymore. But super cool. I was on cloud. I'm just like,
I bet,
like those little history nerds, getting my nerd on out there, Even my wife thought it was cool, She likes history, but not like I do, know. So she was like, it was pretty cool. This was fun, So it was a good time. So get out to Gettysburg and drink some beer when you're out there.
Yeah, absolutely. There you go. So, well, you got anything else today? Otherwise, I think we got kind of the long and the short of Mikerphone and the history of D.C. and Gettysburg.
I could have gone on longer, too. This would have been like a 5-hour episode.
Oh, no, absolutely.
I don't have too much else. Road trips, I got a fun fact about road tripping, maybe, kind of. It ties in. Jumbo jets. So, if you fly on a jumbo jet, how much fuel they carry a lot of fuel. If you were to take all that fuel and use it in a car, how far do you think you could drive a car on one tank of jumbo jet fuel on one jumbo jet?
I'm guessing more than 460 miles.
You would be correct.
Okay.
Yes. I'll drink to that. Way to go, Andy.
Yes.
So if you took the fuel on one jumbo jet out and kept it for your car, you could drive around the world 4.5 times.
That's a lot.
With your average car for mile. I mean, we can get into the details, but the average vehicle, you could drive it around the world 4.5 times on one fill-up of a jumbo jet.
Wow. That's a lot of fuel.
More facts from beer.
There you go. Did you know that a group of flamingos is called a flamboyance?
No, but it makes me feel flamboyant.
I might just have to keep drinking beer and push on through the night.
Well, on that note.
So, yeah, check out mikerphonebrewing.com. Again, Miker for Mikerphone, and also projectfirebuddies.org. So, some things to be able to check out. But otherwise, that's kind of the long and the short of the podcast today for Mikerphone Brewing. And we go together like ... soft sour ale with strawberries and peanuts today.
Perfect. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Andy Beckstrom, Sean Field. Cheers.
Cheers.